Greetings. Welcome to Council Devotional number 11. We are now 2/3 of the way through the Church Renewal Lab process. We spent almost a year in four-directional listening, and then we began imagining a God-preferred future, and in short order, we hope to begin investing in actually pursuing that God-preferred future. I want to have a conversation with you tonight about change. We have a saying in the Church Renewal Lab that goes like this: we are perfectly structured to get the results we're already getting. So unless we're perfectly happy with how we're making more and better disciples, something has to change. But here's a question I'd like to pose tonight. What are we willing to change? And what things are we unwilling to change? There are, after all, some things that we probably should be willing to change, like the style of worship or music. But there are also things that we shouldn't be willing to change. For example, gospel-centered, biblically focused preaching. That should never change. I would like to take us to a Bible story in 3 acts, all focused on a brass snake. The first act is Act 1 that took place in the desert journeys with Israel after they were taken out of Egypt. It was about the creation of a snake, a brass snake. The people were rebelling and complaining again about being taken into the desert and about God's provision for them in that desert. And as a result of that complaining, God sent venomous snakes that bit people, and some were dying. So they came to Moses, repented of their sins, and asked that God would come through for them again. And so then we read this in Numbers 21, verse 8. The Lord said to Moses, "Make a snake and put it up on a pole. Anyone who is bitten can look at it and live." Act 1, the snake that saves. Then we move forward 700 years to Act 2, and it's the destruction of the snake. It happens in 2 Kings 18, verse 4. It takes place in the time of King Hezekiah, good King Hezekiah. And this is what we read. Hezekiah broke into pieces the bronze snake Moses had made. For up to that time, the Israelites had been burning incense to it. Here, this brass snake had become the object of worship rather than an aid to worship. As someone entitled a sermon about this passage, it's about when good snakes turn bad. It's about when good snakes turn bad. And Hezekiah was willing to smash a 700-year-old antique, one of the most venerated pieces of worship environments for the entire community, and he smashed it. That leads us to Act 3, another 700 years forward, and this is about snake lessons. From John 3, verse 14 through 15, Jesus says, "Just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up, that everyone who believes may have eternal life in him." Jesus says it may be that was a snake that had turned bad, a good snake that turned bad, but there are still snake lessons there. And we can look at that snake and learn something about faith and trust and lifting up our eyes to God for help. Well, I have a question I'd like to have you discuss in groups of 3 to 4 for the next 5 minutes or so. And the question or questions are these. Are there any good snakes in our congregation that have turned bad? Things that when they were first created were an aid to worship but have become an object of worship. Are there any good snakes that have turned bad? And secondly, if you can identify good snakes that have turned bad, ask this question. What was the intent of that thing that was created long ago? How could that intent then be reclaimed for the good? Well, take this moment to just pause the video and come back in a moment. Well, welcome back. Here's the question that we need to think about as leaders in this congregation. The question is, things have to change. if we're going to pursue a deeper commitment to making more and better disciples. But what things are we willing to change? What things are we unwilling to change? Or what things are we willing to modify in order to, again, embrace the good intent that was first intended by these things? So simply, what do we keep? What do we change? And what do we lose? There are in every congregation good snakes that have turned bad. It is your role as elders to help discern what stays and what goes. Thanks for this time together. May you have a wonderful gathering for the rest of the evening. Take care.